Silence feels peaceful until it's used against you. Because when a manipulator wants control, they rarely need to raise their voice. They don't need arguments, and they don't even need a plan. All they need is a pause. A quiet moment so heavy that it forces you to second-guess yourself. A pause long enough for your mind to turn uncertainty into guilt, and guilt into obedience. Most people never notice this tactic, but once you see what sits behind that silence, you can't unsee it. We tend to imagine manipulation as something loud or dramatic, gaslighting, arguments, emotional outbursts. But some of the strongest tactics don't involve any words at all. They involve the absence of words. Manipulators understand something most people don't. Your mind hates open space, and silence creates the biggest space of all. A single moment of quiet can push you into overthinking, self-blame, or unnecessary apology. And the manipulator doesn't have to lift a finger. They let your mind do the work for them. This tactic is subtle. It feels harmless. It often hides behind the appearance of calm. But underneath, it's one of the most psychologically effective forms of control. This tactic is known as the manipulator's pause. It's the deliberate use of silence to make you feel tension they created, and then make you responsible for relieving it. Here's how it works. First, you say or do something that doesn't serve their control. You express a boundary. You speak with confidence. You disagree, or you simply show independence. Then they go silent. Sudden, heavy, calculated silence. A pause long enough to feel like something is wrong. Your brain reacts automatically. Humans are wired to resolve tension quickly. Silence feels like a problem without a clear source. So instead of looking outward, you look inward. You start asking yourself, did I say something wrong? Did I upset them? Should I explain myself? Should I soften my point? Then the negotiation begins. You replay the conversation. You adjust your tone in your mind. You prepare an apology. You talk yourself out of your original stance. And without saying a word, the manipulator gets what they wanted: control without effort. This works because silence creates a psychological void, and the human mind rushes to fill that void with self-doubt. A manipulator knows they don't have to challenge your words if they can make you question them yourself. Imagine you finally gather the courage to communicate a boundary. You say something honest, something vulnerable, something you truly need. And instead of responding, your partner goes quiet. Not thoughtful silence, not processing silence, strategic silence. You feel the air tighten. You feel the emotional shift. You sense the tension, but you can't name it. Seconds pass. Too many seconds. So you do what most of us instinctively do. You soften your boundary. You backtrack. You apologize for creating discomfort. Their silence didn't communicate peace. It communicated pressure. And you relieved that pressure by abandoning your own needs. Picture a workplace moment. You're presenting an idea during a meeting. You finish speaking, and the room goes quiet. Your manager, the one with authority, doesn't comment, doesn't nod, doesn't critique, just stares. The silence stretches. It feels like disapproval, even though nothing was said. It pushes you into explaining, defending, or shrinking your confidence. You end up talking yourself into a smaller version of the idea. They didn't have to discredit you. You did it for them. This is professional manipulation disguised as listening. And then there's family silence. In some households, silence is a weapon woven into the culture. A parent goes quiet, not because they're thinking, but because they know the quiet will make you correct yourself. Maybe you speak up. Maybe you express a belief they don't share. Maybe you show independence. And suddenly, the room changes. No reaction, no acknowledgement, just a cold, heavy pause that pulls you back into childhood patterns. You don't feel like an adult negotiating ideas. You feel like a child seeking approval. This is the power of the manipulator's pause. It doesn't attack you. It makes you attack yourself. Most discussions about manipulation focus on words, the lies, the gaslighting, the verbal traps. But the real danger often lives in the quiet spaces manipulators weaponize. Silence is often misunderstood as calm, patience, or emotional maturity. But when used strategically, silence becomes a shadow weapon. It disguises control as neutrality. It makes the manipulator appear composed, while you feel unstable. The danger doesn't always lie in what someone says. Sometimes it lies in what they withhold. A manipulator uses silence because it allows them to maintain power while appearing innocent. They want you to doubt yourself before you ever doubt them. They want you to question your reality, to surrender your boundaries, to fix the emotional tension they created, to apologize without knowing why, to become responsible for their reaction. Silence lets them avoid looking controlling. They didn't yell. They didn't accuse you. They didn't blame you. But they created the conditions that made you blame yourself. This is the brilliance and the danger of the manipulator's pause. It gives them control without giving you evidence. This message speaks directly to people who have lived through quiet pressure. People who regret backing down even when they were right. People who over-explain themselves when someone goes cold. People who fear tension because they've been conditioned to resolve it. Empaths who absorb emotional discomfort. Employees who shrink under silent authority. Adults who still feel intimidated by parental disapproval. Anyone who has felt the weight of silence and assumed it was their fault. For these viewers, this explanation offers recognition, understanding, and a way to finally see silent manipulation for what it really is. By the end of this message, you should understand that silence can be a deliberate tactic. You should recognize the psychological mechanism behind the manipulator's pause. You should stop interpreting silence as proof that you were wrong. You should stay grounded instead of panicking during quiet moments. You should reclaim confidence in your boundaries. You should notice patterns of silent control before they sink deeper. And you should respond with clarity instead of self-blame. The ultimate goal is to turn awareness into protection. Awareness breaks the spell. Once you understand the tactic, silence loses its power. Here's how to defend yourself. First, name the silence. Not emotionally, not aggressively, just calmly. I notice you went quiet. What are your thoughts? This returns the pressure to the person who created it. Second, don't fill the space. Most manipulators rely on you breaking first. Wait. Stay steady. Let the silence sit with them, not you. Third, hold your original stance. A pause doesn't erase the validity of your point. Stay connected to your message. Trust your reasoning. Fourth, observe patterns, not isolated moments. Anyone can be quiet occasionally, but if silence consistently appears when you express needs, assert yourself, voice disagreement, or set boundaries, then it's no longer silence. It's a tactic. And finally, do not apologize for the tension they created. Their silence is not your failure. Their pause is not your guilt. Their discomfort is not your responsibility. Protection begins with refusing to take ownership of emotions that aren't yours. Silence can be a refuge, or it can be a quiet form of psychological control. But once you learn to see the difference, the pause loses its power. The room can go still, the air can tighten, the moment can stretch, and you remain centered, steady, and unshaken. Because awareness turns silence from a trap into a truth you can finally see.